G'day, I'm Dr. Philip Button from the Food Entrepreneurship Academy. Now here I am in the national capital of Australia, Canberra. Behind me is St Andrew's Presbyterian Church, 87 years old, built in 1934. An absolute fabulous piece of architecture here in the national capital, in the suburb of Forest, in inner city Canberra. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is bacteriophage therapy and biocontrol. So bacteriophages, more commonly known as phages, are viruses of bacteria. Archaea, as a separate domain of life, have similar relationships with viruses. Now, whether these viruses of archaea are actually called, or regarded as bacteriophages, as we know them, is certainly debatable. So there's a perspective that's been presented where, more for convenience and tradition really, viruses of bacteria, along with archaea, are grouped together and considered as bacteriophages. Now, whether that's scientifically correct is certainly, as I said, up for debate. Now, this discussion though will only involve phages and bacteria. So phages of bacteria, due to the recognition and acknowledgement of the role of the bacteria in foodborne disease and in food spoilage. However, there's really no doubt that the unexplored world of the domain archaea may very well hold even more significance to the future of humanity in ways that we really do not understand even as yet. However, it's the bacteriophages of the domain bacteria, of which T4 is a common one, for example, that we'll consider in this video. Now, with this domain-specific host range, which for practical purposes is generally much more restricted, but can be difficult to precisely determine, it's been determined that they are, some authors have worked out, such as Homan and Abaddon in 2010, that they are well suited to therapeutic applications in eukaryotic species, including humans. So this is due to the fundamental basis of their biology and interaction with host cells, which cannot be achieved with human cells. Thus, phage therapy is really not new, despite the fact that many people may have not heard of it. So around the time of World War I, several important clinical-based discoveries were actually made in the area of phage therapy. So while these continued, as did phage-based therapeutics for approximately the next quarter of a century, continuing or conflicting evidence, poorly designed experimental protocols and some, extra scientific issues, actually combined to restrict the progress of us and essentially, unfortunately, terminate the path of widespread phage therapy, upon the advent of antibiotics in the 1940s. So, these wonder drugs, the antibiotics, were, really well suited to commercial production and rapidly took over as the therapy of choice for bacterial infections. So, phage biocontrol, however, does continue to this day in certain countries in human medicine after nearly 100 years of ongoing research and development. So their widespread interest, though, has been reignited in recent times, and their potential noted for control of plant pathogens, for example, plant pathogenic bacteria in the agricultural context, as well as human bacterial foodborne pathogens that are considered zoonotic, and those that are much more likely to have environmental reservoirs. So there's really promising research in this area that has led the FDA in the US, right, to approve certain commercial preparations, and that occurred in the mid 2000s. So it's really this particular application in foodborne disease and in applications of control of foodborne pathogens at the start of the, early on in the food chain, the agri-food supply chain, that's really where the most potential is, even though they started in human medicine some 100 years ago, and then have been largely abandoned on a global scale. It's it's the food and agriculture area that really holds a lot of promise for phage biocontrol. So that's our introduction to bacteriophage therapy and biocontrol, just to give you a snapshot of the historical context and some of the possible applications that are going forward, and that really hold an exciting possibilities for new and improved approaches to combat the real burgeoning surge in foodborne disease around the world. So thanks very much for listening. It's been a pleasure to share this with you. I'm Dr. Philip Button from the Food Entrepreneurship Academy here in Canberra, in the Australian Capital Territory. Thanks very much, and I'll see you around. Bye.